In other news, as we know, creepy Uncle Joe Biden has entered the race. Everyone was expecting him to, and he said it by mistake a few weeks ago, I think, at a speech. And so there was a lot of buzz about it, but he finally announced, and he did it with a dramatic video that starts the word Charlottesville. Now, Charlottesville, as we remember, was this place of a riots surrounding the Robert E. Lee statue, and I made a video about it. I wrote about it. Made a video about it at the time where, I don't really care about losing these Confederate statues and all that. But if we look at Heather Heyer and what actually happens, it's not as clear-cut as you would imagine. Good people on both sides. I don't know. These people fighting over a statue seems kind of ridiculous, but at the time, and to this day, I still side with free speech and say, well, people should be able to peaceably assemble, and we need to look at who were the antagonists, who was starting it, what happened. Granted, I wouldn't have been involved. I remember in 2017 seeing a lot of Antifa and the street violence that seemed to be a big thing, or at least they were reporting on it a lot. But this really was the point where it sort of put the brakes on the red pill movement, where everyone's side got determined. And I remember in 2016, when Trump got elected, during the elections, all this, I didn't lose many friends because of that. I told everyone I was conservative, and it wasn't that big of a shock or that big of a concern for most people. But when I did come out in support of the right to peaceably assemble at Charlottesville, I did lose friends over that. And so it's interesting that Joe Biden took that as his angle, and it's apropos when we consider that he couldn't take the Me Too angle. We've all seen those pictures of him with both younger girls and older women, and they say, oh, well, he's just like that. It's just his way of being friendly, kind of explaining his behavior in the same way that you would explain a dog. Like if your dog starts jumping up on someone who walks into your house, like, oh, don't be worried, that's just his way of being nice. I think the best clip of him, the best video is him with that woman, and her husband is speaking, and he's just like holding her shoulders and smelling her hair, and it's like a very intimate motion. I mean, it's sexual is what it is. You don't hold someone's shoulders and start sniffing their hair, and it means anything but that. I think that's just quite ridiculous. And so, of course, it's been memed to death. We've seen him do that to other people. We've seen it do him to himself, to the Statue of Liberty, all of this. And so I think it's just funny that they would have him running against Donald Trump when Donald Trump, everyone's like, oh, well, he sexual assault and all this. When forgetting that, like the Billy Bush tape, it's all consensual, what he's talking about. And there isn't any camera of him like grabbing someone and sniffing their hair, or grabbing the upper section of a young girl or something, or hugging in that weird, almost touching the breast sort of hug that we see so many times with creepy Uncle Joe. I did see one meme where it was pictures of Uncle Joe compared to pictures of Trump, and we see Trump giving these aggressive looking kind of kisses, but when you think about it, that's like a formal greeting in many countries. That's putting the American spin on it. Well, if you kiss someone like that, of course it's sexual. No, this, like holding someone's shoulders and sniffing their hair, is undoubtedly a sexual act, but a peck on the cheek is, we might think that's sexual being Americans, but that's a common greeting. I remember when I was in Paris, this must have been 8 or 9 years ago, I was in Paris, and I met someone, a colleague of my friend who's a scientist, and she walked up to me and just kissed me on both cheeks, and I was kind of shocked because I had never experienced that. But in France, that's just how it is. But for anyone to consider that sexual, or to take any of these pictures of Trump doing that same motion and think that's somehow dirty is just totally ridiculous. I don't like PDA. to be honest. And Trump is similar to me. We even have footage of him like at church services or something where Melania tries to hold his hand and he shakes it away. He's just not really a touchy-feely guy. And so hearing all the accusations against him about that, it's like, okay, yeah, he said some really crass things, which is what we would expect. And of course, he's had his affairs and all that, whatever. But I don't think anyone like him, anyone with that illustrious power and just attention, I don't think any man like him would have to force himself on someone. I mean, it's this groupie mentality, whatever. I'm sure Joe Biden has groupies as well, but unlike Trump, we see Biden, we see that we can see the people he's with are very uncomfortable. And the same situation with Al Franken. It's like somehow when Republicans do it, it's not okay. But when the left does it, it's just, oh, he's just being friendly, he's just being a dog. Anyway, Uncle Joe, good luck to you. And I think it's funny that he's probably got the best shot of becoming the nominee. Somehow, if we can get him to become the nominee, it makes me, I don't even vote, but I would vote just to make sure that he got on the ballot, because I would just love to see Trump against Biden, because that would just, the Democratic Party was destroyed before, but this would be its total destruction coming up next. So I'm glad we're coming up on an election year. I'm glad things are heating up, and I'll be talking more about 2020 and our pathetic list of Democratic candidates soon. Over and out.